Welcome back to Learning Curves. I'm Anastasia, and I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this subject for a while because I'm really good at it, and that is failing. I'm actually right in the middle of failing pretty epically. There will be a video at some point, but I'm in kind of a comedy of errors. I've been wanting to paint the backsplash in our kitchen for a long time, and long story short, I am currently trying to re-grout, which means removing the old grout, and I'm borrowing my brother-in-law's Dremel rotary tool, and that is not especially working, so he's letting me troubleshoot that, but I have it like taken apart, and it's just issue after issue after issue, and I feel like I'm failing at all of these issues, and it has made me think about how far I've come and how I feel about failure, what I've learned about failure. So today I want to talk about how facing your fears and failing will make you a better person, and the one thing you need to do in order to succeed. So the first thing I want to be clear about is that failing is brave. You cannot fail if you do not risk something. It's a leap of faith or of guts, but it takes bravery, it takes courage. So the more we fail, the more comfortable we get with it. You know, if we try one thing a year where we have the potential to fail, we're gonna be living and dying with that failure. There's gonna be a whole lot more that rides on that. The more we try things, the more we don't get caught up in how we feel about it. We get to be more preoccupied with the metrics, with what went right, what went wrong, what are my strengths and weaknesses. We're able to see the curve, we're able to see the trends. I think so much of it is perspective. There's a quote that's like, I wish I was as fat as the first time I thought I was fat. And I think about that with busyness. Before we had kids, we had so much more time available to us. That time was still filled, but we could have filled it with more. There's that metaphor about that teacher. This might even be true. A teacher has like a big jar, and the teacher fills it with golf balls and says, is the jar full? And the students are like, yeah, it's full. Well, then the teacher adds in some pebbles, and the pebbles fill in all the negative spaces between the golf balls. And the teacher says, okay, what about now? Now is it full? And they're like, yeah. And then the teacher pours in sand, and the sand fills in all those negative spaces. Is it full? Yeah. And then the teacher pours in water. Okay, is it full? When we were golf balls, we didn't understand how much more could be squeezed in those other areas. The more you have of a thing, the less opportunity you have for distraction. When we are trying more things, more new things, when we are risking failure more often, we don't have time to focus on, oh God, what are people gonna think of me? Because we're thinking about the next thing. Okay, how do I do my best at this next thing? How do I make my chances for success as high as possible? When we are doing more things, when we're uncomfortable more often, eventually the discomfort just becomes background noise. It's something we're able to sort of drown out or ignore, and we're able to focus more on the results. What went well? What could have been better? How overall am I doing as far as improvements or growth? Plus, we learn more from our failures than we do our successes. When something goes right, we don't know how close we could have been to failure in those successes. We don't know which steps we got right by a little and which steps we got right by a lot. But when something goes wrong, we can go back and troubleshoot. We change something and, okay, that didn't fix it, so that's not the problem. We change something else, that didn't fix it, that's not the problem. There's that Thomas Edison quote, I didn't fail, I just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. I mean, Thomas Edison, he missed the mark 10,000 times, but none of that matters because that was all the work he needed to figure it out, to get it right, to give us these light bulbs. I don't know if this is something that just happened to me or something that happens to people when you risk failure more often, but as I do scary thing after scary thing after scary thing, which of course is subjective, but I am afraid of almost all things, so I had a lot to choose from. Eventually, I stopped, or at least have significantly decreased. I don't miss the mark on something and then say, oh, I'm terrible, I'm the worst, I'm bad, I failed, I'm a failure. I don't take that on as much. I take it more as, okay, this didn't work, what can I do differently to make that happen? I have tried and failed and made it work. I've put duct tape on enough stuff, literally and metaphorically, that I really feel like I can do anything. I just have to try and keep trying. So anyway, I don't know if everyone will eventually not take failures personally, but for me, the more I've failed, the more I'm able to not identify with the failures. I identify more with my courage, with my risks, with my bravery of, I walked past that dead bug in the basement. The bar is low, guys. So I would be remiss if I didn't include the quote from The Dark Knight. Why do we fail? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. That's the difference between failure and success. There are so many quotes from famous people that talk about how failure is inevitable, and the only difference between failure and success is getting back up. I've got a quote. Nelson Mandela, "Do not judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." Like anything, the more we do it, the better we're going to be at it. And I don't just mean failing, I mean getting back up. The more we fail and then get back up, the faster we're gonna be able to do it, and the quicker we're gonna be able to shake it off. To not dwell in the, oh, I fell. Get back up and get moving. That's resiliency, right? The ability to fall, get back up, and do it again. Getting back up doesn't have to mean trying that same thing again. You know, we can fail at something and be like, I didn't enjoy any of that, and I have no desire to do it again. That is not for me. And we move on to something else we want to try. You know, Thomas Edison found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. They weren't the same 10,000 ways. It's not like I tried the first thing 10,000 times and then went to the second. So this is another theory I'm toying with. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but for me, the more I get back up again, I mean, honestly, the more I experience emotionally in general, the more I'm able to show up for other people going through those things. The more I'm able to remember what it feels like to fall. And the better I'm able to show up for my loved ones who fall, who not only are handling the darkness of I failed, but also having to decide, do I sit in this alone, or do I admit to someone else that I failed and risk their rejection or lack of empathy? I can show up and be empathetic and be like, oh man, I failed 7 times this week. That sucks. Oh, I hate it. So I think with failure, there's a lot of shame tied to it. Public shame, people being like, oh, you're a failure, and personal shame. And I think the more we fail, and the more comfortable we get with that, the more we know and understand in our bones that to err is human, the less personal shame we feel about it, because it's just part of the human experience. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you take no risks, if you do not fail, you haven't tried. Once you understand how human failure is and how inevitable it is, if we only risk once in a year, you know, like I mentioned at the beginning, if we only try one thing per year and we fail at that thing, we might carry a lot of shame about failing 100% of the times we tried in that year. And in our darkest hours, unfortunately, a lot of us, when we feel shame, you know, misery loves company. When we see someone else fail, we are more likely to overtly or subconsciously shame them for their failure. I think the more comfortable we get with failure, the less likely we are to do that. The more likely we are to normalize failure amongst our community with our loved ones. So I say all this to say, I encourage you to do something scary today. I mean, we are approaching Halloween, right? I encourage you to do something that scares you today. I encourage you to try something, to fail, to learn from those mistakes, to get up, to keep going. You know, you can use the Mel Robbins trick, the 5-second rule, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do it. She says something like, when you have a thought to work towards a goal of yours, you have to do it within 5 seconds or your brain will kill it. You have the idea, oh, I think I want to do this thing that's scary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take action towards that thing. You know, there are a lot of big things in my life that I'm working towards that are scary, that have a lot of minefields of I'm gonna fail at this. You may be able to judge from my complexion that one of those things I think a lot of white people are dealing with is being a white person who considers myself a good person trying to do anti-racist work. I am gonna have to fail a lot there to get it right. And that's scary. I'm a mom who's trying to do the best for her kids. I'm sure I'm making a lot of mistakes there, and that's high stakes. Dealing with my baby's emotional health, their developmental health, that feels scary. As someone daring to dream, having a YouTube channel where I think my videos right now are averaging 30 views a week. That's hard to not live and die with each view and to focus on long-term success. Just keep my eye on the horizon and keep going forward. And as a creator in general, a content creator here on YouTube, a DIYer, a crafter, you know, someone who makes stuff, I'm not gonna make anything new without risking failure, including a painted tile backsplash. So remember, failing is brave. It takes risks, it takes hope, and the vulnerability is what makes you stronger. Remember, it doesn't get easier, you get better. Enough motivational speaking. Go out there and do something scary and tell me about it, and then I will, you're so brave, in the comments. That's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please like this video and please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.